and organizations behind them. In today's episode, we look into KOICA, the Korean International Cooperation Agency. I'm Kidana Baina, and do stay with us. I'm joined now by the Deputy Country Director of KOICA in Ethiopia, Sunghee Cho. Thank you very much for joining us today and giving us the time. Thank you very much.
Thank you for visiting our office.
All right. Well, so I know that KOICA is present in many countries around the world as a partner for developing countries. But before we go to KOICA in Ethiopia now, I'd like you to give us a brief background of KOICA in general, its activities, general missions.
Okay, KOICA stands for Korea International Cooperation Agency, and we are under Ministry of Foreign Affairs of South Korea. So we are an official government organization who's doing ODA, Official Development Aid. So what we are doing is working with our partner countries in all over the world. And like you said, we have 44 country offices at the moment. And we started with 6 country offices when we were founded back in 1991. So actually, KOICA is 31 years old organization, and we are representing government of Korea, and we are using Korean people's tax money to help our partner countries in development.
Like I said earlier, it's in many different countries, and one of them is Ethiopia, which is our topic for today. And speaking of KOICA in Ethiopia, back in March of 2022, the 5-year plan was sent out through a press release, and I read on that actually it has 4 areas of control or focus, as according to it, which is based on a comprehensive analysis of the 10-year development plan of Ethiopia, and those are manufacturing, health, green economy, and inclusion. What are other areas of cooperation that exist that KOICA focuses on here in Ethiopia?
When we develop a new project in cooperation with government of Ethiopia and line ministries, we are focusing on 4 main thematic areas. Like you said, manufacturing, health, and green economy and climate action. Lastly, the social inclusion and peace. Other than that, those bilateral projects, we are also dispatching young Koreans to Ethiopia so they can be volunteers. Usually it's 2 years, but because of COVID-19, we are reopening, resending our young Koreans to do on the grassroots. So what we are usually sending our Korean people is to schools and universities, so they can teach, they can contribute in education and health and stuff like that. And lastly, we are doing also a capacity building program for government officials in Ethiopia.
All right, so in that you mentioned something about the health sector, and actually I think it was on the 6th of July, there's a piece of news that said that KOICA is donating to the Ministry of Health of Ethiopia. And so now I want to ask you about KOICA's support to Ethiopia's health sector.
Actually, health sector is our biggest investment goes to among the 4 thematic areas we earlier talking about. So this year alone is 37% of whole KOICA annual budget goes to health sector. At the moment, we have 6 projects ongoing, and one is with cooperation with USAID. One is something going on in RC zone, and the other one is national campaign for family planning and reproductive health. And also we are working with UNICEF to improve the health status among children and newborns in Benishangul Gumuz and Afar area. And lastly, we are under health sector, we are doing water and sanitation program. Actually, KOICA is one of the key donors for national program called One Wash National Program.
Now, heading over to another thing, back in May of 2022, KOICA and the government of Ethiopia, according to what I read, signed a $10 million agreement for a project on community-led solution for inclusive socioeconomic resilience, something that we mentioned earlier, one of the 4 areas that's going to focus on. And so, can you please take me over that and what areas this project is going to be focused on?
Okay, the project is actually, we are working with both Ministry of Peace, so Ethiopian government side, as well as IOM, International Organization for Migration, under UN. So what we are doing together is that the project area is in Oromia and Somali. 5 woreda in Oromia and another 5 in Somali region. So what we are focusing on is that we are trying to improve the resilience and peace building based in community level. And what we are doing is that we help them to improve their livelihood and also community building peace project in there, because those areas, the 10 woredas we selected as a project site, is very prone to internal migration. So there's some conflict going on, and they need the peace for them to develop in the long run. So that's what we are doing.
Moving on from socioeconomic aspect, let's head over to investments. And now, what does KOICA invest in? What can we call as investment here in Ethiopia?
I would say that we are investing in Ethiopian people, because for thematic areas, not only just Ethiopian government development strategy, it's also closely linked to our organizational strategy as well. So as you can see, we are focusing on peace, people, prosperity, and planet, and partnership. So these 4 selected thematic areas, actually what we are doing is that achieve a common goal of, human life. So if you were born, you need to be healthy, and you need to have access to all the health services and clean water. But in the same time, your neighborhood should be very peaceful. Otherwise, you wouldn't learn anything. You're not going to school, So it's very important. Actually, everything is linked together. And we also have some educational projects and also rural development projects. And because of that, let's say you're grown, you went to school and you graduate school with some skills and knowledge. But if you don't have a standing manufacturing industry, it doesn't really work, because you need a job and you need to contribute to the society. That's how a country development is going on. So to your question, I would say that our investment goes to Ethiopian people.
KOICA and the Ethiopian Ministry of Regional Integration and Trade and other stakeholders also agreed that they would be working together to sort of increase Ethiopia's exports, as well as the quality of the products that would be put out for the international market. So my question on that is, how exactly is KOICA supporting this mission of Ethiopia of increasing exports?
I think you mentioned the project is specifically called Leather Industry Empowerment Project that we are working with government of Ethiopia. And actually, leather is one of the biggest export items in Ethiopia. So what we want to do is that we want to support the leather industry's capacity, so they can meet up the international level of quality. So that's what we're doing. And along with these projects, another 2 ongoing projects that I would like to mention is that we have a single window phase 2 project Single window is some kind of standardized system for exporting and importing, taxation, etc. So what we are doing is, this is the second phase. Actually, we did the first phase 5 years back, and it was very well resulted. So that's why we are doing the second phase. So what we are doing is that we built this system for customs, so you can shorten the time of exporting and importing goods. So I think hand in hand, these kind of two projects are gonna make a big synergy in trade industry in Ethiopia. And we are also, in line with that, we are also developing a new project starting from 2024. Is for strengthening competency of Ethiopia's national quality infrastructure. So when you export something for each industry and for each items, you have some kind of globalized standardization standards. For example, iOS 9001, something like that. Some kind of certificate that you can prove that this is a high quality, this quality of product. So then you are guaranteed that your goods are really good. So what we are planning to do in pipelining now, is that we want to make this project launch, hopefully from 2024. So yeah, we can strengthen the system of export and the whole infrastructure and the industry and ecosystem.
All right, so from everything that we've just talked about, we see that KOICA is doing much for the developing countries that it's partnered up with, including Ethiopia. And so now a question arises: what is the mutual benefit that is kind of gained from this for Ethiopia and also the Republic of South Korea? I mean, what do all of these interactions mean for both sides?
I don't think I can start this discussion without mentioning the long history behind Korea and Ethiopia relationship. When we had a Korean War back in 1950, Ethiopia sent more than 6,000 soldiers, top elite soldiers, actually emperors, the emperor soldiers. And they fought for us, for our democracy and freedom. So after that, after Korean War, we literally developed from ash to donor country in less than 70 years. So I think because of that, we have Korea has some kind of different status with other donor countries, for example, from Europe or USA, because we have very recent and very short time frame of development experience firsthand. So we actually developed a lot in a short frame of time. So for Ethiopians, I think KOICA's work and our role is to transport this kind of development knowledge. So Ethiopia can use that knowledge in their country for their own development.
Deputy Country Director of KOICA here in Ethiopia, Sunghee Cho, thank you very much for your time and your insights today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Amasekinalo.
With that, we end today's Investors Cafe. We've looked into KOICA, the different projects here, as well as different areas of focus for the partnership of Ethiopia as well as South Korea. Thank you very much for joining us, and goodbye for now.